All right, welcome to Pass the Mic, Friday, June 23rd, 2023, episode 75. Mike Piotti here on Zoom, across here on River, across West Jefferson, Mr. Mike Gervasi.
Party in the city where the heat is on all night on the beach till the break of dawn. You know that one.
That's Mr. Will Smith.
There's a reason I did that one, which we'll get to in a moment.
Oh, okay. So I that one I didn't even need a hint. But that's basic 90s stuff.
That's
So
hip hop, as
hip hop, yes.
third base.
And again, I'm actually anti Will Smith, as we've made known
Yes.
in previous episodes. We're again late minute here. This is actually Friday. We're recording Friday. I'm almost tempted to do like a live YouTube one day and just like do it live. If we keep doing this.
We can do that.
Feedback or put back. We got ripped on a little bit with both of us sort of being anti-lake swimming. I mean, some of these elitist outdoors people.
Yeah, man, Ken Sakura, that guy. Wow.
Said we were coward. You know,
what a dork.
Even when we give him a baseball shout out finally, and then he gets on our case about
right.
lake swimming. I took some heat for Ice Cube. I got a text from the Pates right away about how an embarrassment that was, and totally an embarrassment. But I own it. It is what it is.
Yeah, Deontay sent me a list of his top 5 comedians. I know.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Comedians. He didn't even have Eddie Murphy on there, which I was surprised. Richard Pryor, George Carlin, a couple other guys. He had Bill Burr and Louis C.K. as his number 5 tied, but I guess I gave 3 of the 5. But it's that one. You didn't really go into any detail. What are your thoughts on comedians? Even the famous.
I sort of did hint to it that there are other things that I don't ever see myself paying to go see one. Entertainment's so expensive. Okay, going to I'm not, and again, I like to go out and do stuff, but to me, there are other things I'd rather do instead of going to see a comedian. I don't like going to the movies. Comedians, I would rather go to a live sporting event. I'd rather go, like I said recently, I went to a concert. I'd rather go to concert. Those rank above comedians to me. Sitting and laughing at jokes for a night or two is not entertaining to me.
Okay, you did go in a little bit. You talked about
yeah. I just think there's enough humor in my daily life. Like I spent yesterday, and God rest my soul, laughing at all the videos and memes about the submarine. I have no. I'll admit it.
You go there.
I'll say an extra Hail Mary or whatever it is. I'm thankful that it sounds like it was quick. I guess that's the only thing to sort of give me some cover. But do I have a little remorse? Yes, I do. Obviously, I don't want anyone to lose their lives, but also sometimes, a long time ago, we were. It's far different from dying in a catastrophic sub accident. But years ago, we had boxing gloves in my house, and we had a pair of boxing gloves, and we were boxing in my driveway. Well, then one of my friend's younger brothers says, "Hey, I want to try it," with all of us that were older. And we're like, "Listen, you probably shouldn't do that. You're, a couple years younger than us. You're 4 or 5 years younger than us." And he did. And one of my friends that was my age boxed this kid, knocked, like, blasted in the face. And so he's like crying. And my dad comes out and he's crying. And I'm sure he's like waiting for my dad to like yell at people. And my dad just said, "You knew what you were getting into when you put those boxing gloves on." And that line travels with me for what happened with the submarine. You knew what you were getting into when you got into this thing. And I guess that's sort of how I deal with it. So yes.
So let me to draw a couple of analogies. Where I'll agree with you is, like I told my daughter this, when people, those folks that sort of poke animals, I'm not
in Yellowstone that go up to like the bison and whatnot,
right? Or crocodiles, so forth and so on. When they turn back on you, it's kind of like you knew what you were getting. Yeah, you know what you're getting into. So in that regard, I'll agree with you. It was really interesting though. Cliff Menser offered a really interesting take, because I sent him a couple of videos yesterday, some of the videos you and I looked at. And on one hand, I would agree with you. They made a decision that you and I couldn't make. They actually, I don't think the people that I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because you seem to follow us more than I did. They went on the cheap in certain instances, right? And I mean, it seems like when you're going to do something this dangerous, you probably don't want to cut corners. And so, people that we probably can't relate to doing something we would never be able to afford to do, nor would I want to do it anyway. And so in that regard, I can understand your point of view. On the flip side, the other video was totally unrelated, just the humanity overall of treating people with kindness. And I'm not ripping on you on this one. This is more of just a statement. Like, maybe this is another example when we mock the dead. I mean, those individuals do have families that are now grieving.
Yes.
Ones, so, you know, it's a way of looking at it.
But I mean, I'm not going to lie about myself either and say that, oh, I've been disgusted and haven't watched any of these. I mean, it is what it is. You know what I mean? And if we lose listeners, I apologize. I'll, you know.
Oh, one other quick thing from a pass the mic. The video you sent me yesterday, you sent me a video about people backing in. This was, I think yours was a TikTok, or was it a Facebook Live?
Yeah, it was like one of those reels. Yeah, like a TikTok post.
There's an Instagram, same one. I got the same text message last night from my friend Travis, who agrees with us. And then this one is still going. This is a debate. Then Deontay and Antoine jumped in. I back in. My wife backs in. And so that one is still raging.
I noticed it the other day when I went to Kroger how many were backed in. Like now I couldn't tell if they were. You never know. They could be a pull through. I have no problem with the pull through. I have no problem with the pull through.
The pull through is fine.
All right. Do you have? Oh, one other thing. Back to the sub.
Yeah.
I want to know. They were talking. Here's another aspect of it, that it's not to. Who's paying for all this? The Coast Guard, these ships. That's what I want to know. Everyone always listen when it's the little guy that's supposedly milking the tax system. Everyone's disgusted, and you know they blast them on various news networks. Okay, that's fine. Who's paying for this? That's what I want to know. I want to know who the Coast Guard, all this stuff. Who's paying for it?
Excellent question.
5 guys that have tons of money that went into this non-approved item, and word on the street too is the Navy knew what happened instantly because we have such great underwater like sonar and technology. That's what I'm reading this morning, is they knew it had imploded, but because of secrecy and the Navy doesn't want to reveal what we have, which I have no problem paying for that kind of stuff to keep us safe. But they didn't want to like sort of say to the Coast Guard, hey, you know, you know, it's, you know, but that's a whole nother issue. We'll save that for MSNBC and Fox News, unless they want to have us on as guests.
I don't see that happening, but
okay. It's your week. It's your week for the mic of the week. What do you got for us?
All right. So I previewed what, you know, with the song. My mic is the middle name, Philip Michael Thomas.
Oh, nice. We're going to, and that's an actual real name. Not that, so we're off the character from like last week of Michael Scott, but Miami Vice. My wife claims that was her childhood TV crush.
Michael, not Michael. Don Johnson?
Or no, Philip Michael Thomas.
Okay, all right. See, I wanted to be Don Johnson with the hair. I never could.
Oh, yeah. I there was an era. Do you remember one year for Easter, I wore like the white sport coat with like a t-shirt under it.
Yeah.
It was the thing to do, I guess. So good, Michael. We'll have to add him up to the wall along with your giant poster. Don't lose that poster. All right, this week's topic, we did this. So I remember when we were talking about shows, we don't do a year in review in January or late December. We don't do, because we do ours on our school calendar year. And so that's what we did around this time last year. We did our summer plans episode, and we're also now right in line with it. We're going to do our year in review, where we just give our highlights of the 22-23 school year. Could be personal, could be professional, could be extracurricular. You had much like you had the first year with your own daughter in the building, first year ever. So I'm sure that was a unique experience. I've gone through it obviously with all 4 years with Chloe. Now it's Nate's second year. So just sort of what was good about it. Hopefully good. I'm sticking to all positive this year. So what was your 22-23 school year like?
You know, it was a challenge in a lot of ways. And you know, I was kind of reflecting. I actually this morning before we went through some of my stuff from the year and some of my folders and stuff like that. So, God, man, that was rough. Oh man, that was rough. And actually, when it comes to our overrated, underrated segment today, it's part of. I'm going to actually bring the classroom in as well. But there was one moment that sticks out. And I'm just going to leave this moment. I'm not going to give you any others. This is going to be it.
Okay, one and done.
One and done. And I mentioned it before when my daughter won. Was it? It was the dance.
Snowball Princess.
Yes. Okay, I wanted to make sure I had the right dance, but yeah, you know, inherently there's the difficulty in my kids always feel like whenever something good happens, both of them, you know, will hear from other kids, oh, your dad, your dad, your dad.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you've experienced this, and
Yes, I mean, there were literally daddy's boy chants at the fall
yes,
homecoming assembly.
yes. Yeah, that's not nice. With Nate, it kind of makes me laugh just because it's Nate. But yes, it's so not nice. And I will explain to them till I'm blue in the face. They're not going to believe it. I can give them examples. But the moment it happened, and she has not, we haven't talked about it too much since. But the moment it happened was truly remarkable. I thought, the people that were involved, you and a few others, did a wonderful job of not saying anything to me, which again, that's what you're supposed to do. But it was such a neat moment. Her reaction was just priceless. I wish I could just, one of those moments you can just bottle and hold on to.
Yep.
This feeling. It's so much more than anything else you could experience. It's like, and I'm sure you've had this before. You could have your own successes in life, whatever it is. When your kids have a success, it's astronomically better. Right.
Yep.
And so
Exactly.
that's my moment, and I will never forget it. So that's my moment.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion, and you're absolutely right. I'll take all the hard days though for we're very blessed that we have the ability to spend a majority of our work year. I mean, there'll be chunks of our years for you. For me, it was like 4 with Chloe and 4 with Nate, and they overlapped a little bit. But we get to go to work every day with our kids. Like,
Yeah.
I'm down to my last 2 years of it, and these were definitely going to be the best 5 years of my career that they were able to come, and I was part of their day. I get to coach my son in a sport, which is it's like an added bonus that we actually get. I think it's great. So that was a great
son.
day.
Let me tell you a quick story about him from yesterday.
Okay.
Just to give the listener a little context, your son and I really banter back and forth. And
yes, multiple topics.
Yes. So yesterday in youth camp, my team won, and
an upset win, according to my son.
Upset win, and I messed up late in the game. And anybody that's had me as a coach will tell you. In fact, another young man, I don't know if he listens or not, Jacob Latzy came up and talked about me in late game situations. And I will tell you, I cannot gather a thought. I got 1,000 things going at once. I messed up late in that game, and it wasn't a blunder. That it was a mistake. It was a huge mistake. Fortunately, it wasn't one that cost us, but it could have. And Nate, without knowing it, came up and said, and I'm like, even the kids on the team were like, "What were you doing, coach?" I don't know, man. It was one of those things where I was already committed to doing something. What it was, I called a timeout with 1.1 second left. Us up to, with the ball on our own end, with the possession, that we could have just ran out the clock.
The clock could have ran out.
Yeah. Yes, and I called the timeout. No, and it was too late. Josh, former guest Josh Anderson, he was already committed to calling it because I was. And so Nate came up and he said, it's amazing your team won in spite of you. Without even knowing that I had made that mistake. And a couple kids said, yeah, Nate, you should have seen it. So yeah, it was a pretty funny moment. So
he's destined for a job on on ESPN on one of those morning shows, I guess.
Yeah. Or comedian.
Yeah, there you go. Stand-up comedian. Maybe I'll go to a show finally. All right. So for me, I had 3 things, sort of went in order of, I guess, I don't know. There's really no order. So first is, and it sort of goes in the line of, this was really the first full year, I think, 22, 23. Some people will say maybe last year was, but I think this is the first full year where sort of COVID was totally in the rearview mirror. There was nobody had to be out for so many days. It was sort of the honor method. If you're sick, don't come to school. So like the year my daughter was a senior, the picnic with the principal, I was limited to just 5 kids because we wanted to keep people limited. So this year was back to wide open. And so with that, our alumni picnic with the principal was, again, a wide open invite. I think we ended up with like close to 25 people that came in, and it's like my favorite event of the year. And we have people ranging of all grades. Miss Shanks, who teaches down at Shoemate, who is a student council exec board member, I think came up for a little bit. It's just great that all of our council kids have a chance to ask questions and interact, and it was just great to see a big group back. I know this is going to shock you. I know this shocks you because I've already told the story. I really enjoyed my 9th grade advisory group. I really had a good group of kids. Was every kid at 212 every day? No, but for the most part, when I told Nate this story, he's like, "Well, you got the best room in the school." it's just a better vibe in there. There's more room.
It is. It is.
And I'm not ignorant. I think that is true. You know, there are days like where I said to the kids, okay, you don't have to sit in these seats. You can go spread out, and it's just nice. But
It is.
also on days when things went bad, that weren't even with my group. Whatever I asked of them, they did, and they were polite, and I never had an issue. And that's from 4.0 students. I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to violate FERPA, because you know how the advisories are. They're just a random mix
It's just
of
right.
students of all levels and behavior. There's no, and so from my 4.0 students down to my students that struggled and didn't pass every class, they were always respectful. All, you know, with the time, anytime I asked for anything, they did it. And I, you know, that last day that we were together, I brought them in Tasty Boy donuts, and that surprised some other ninth grade advisory teachers that so you know, I just want to give them a shout out. I think they were a great group. Like you, I want to tie my last one in. My fourth one, I have a fourth one that's going to be my hot mic. So my third one, my last one for this segment, my son's his academic year. He made an effort to. He wasn't happy with his ninth grade academic year, and really almost the first half of 10th grade. And he got his report card in the mail yesterday. He was so excited with his grade point and how he did and his work and his athletic year. Like I said, I get to coach him in cross country. I get to watch. I announce basketball. He worked so hard in basketball. He obviously got hurt. He's still you know, and he's going to have surgery, and he's going to have to miss this season. And it's going to be a bummer for him and me too. I was, you know, and I'm not going to lie. You know, you say we get like joy out of this stuff. I'm lucky I announced some JV games last year, because I'm like sitting there. I'm like, I'm going to finally get to announce my kid in a sport that has an announcer. And then, you know, if he never plays another basketball game, that's fine. Like, there's worse things that can happen to people. I'm not going to sit here and, but I just want to commend him on a great year. And again, I'm going to save my fourth one for my hot mic, but 22-23 for me as a professional year, for the most part, was an excellent year. It went fast, man. It went faster than any year I ever had. Like once we got to Thanksgiving, it was like a sprint. Like it's just nuts. So, all right, time for overrated, underrated. We did TV movie moms back at Mother's Day. It was just Father's Day this last weekend. So happy Father's Day to all the dads out there again, belated. So we figured we do overrated, underrated TV dads. I think we said last time the overrated mom was hard, because most of the time moms are in a positive light, right?
Yeah.
And it was hard to come up with them. I had no problem getting my overrated dad. It came to me as the minute I was writing in my notebook yesterday. Who is your overrated dad?
Wow. It's interesting. Okay. So great topic. This one was okay. So my class this year was history on film, and we did the 80s sitcom.
Oh, okay.
I really wonder what yours is going to be. I almost wish we would have talked about this before, because
I have no clue what you're saying.
Okay.
I was having a hard time with underrated of limiting my list. Overrated, I had one, and it's good, and it's set.
The overrated was easy for me. It's Bill Cosby from the Cosby Show.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
So when I showed this, the sitcom to the kids, one of the students brought it up, and it was just like he's like, it's, you know, he was known as America's dad, and he's like, I feel dirty watching it. And the other kids kind of jumped in and felt the same way, you know. Now, obviously, we have the power of hindsight and knowing what he became and what, you know, the horrible things that he did. But yeah, from America's dad, that fall off. And there were people saying it, you know, and I there was a segment of our population that really liked him, for reasons that I'm not going to get into right now. But yeah, it's to me that this one was pretty easy. There were a few others that I thought of that might fit, but he's the one. So I'm saying Bill Cosby from the Cosby Show.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice. And it almost goes back to our Roseanne. Like, I didn't like her TV character either. His TV character was probably what most people would want as a dad, you know. But then his personal fall off makes him an easy choice for that. I don't have him as mine. I'm probably gonna anger some people, because this person, I tend to think a lot of people liked. And again, we're speaking ill of the dead, the sub victims, and now this person. But again, overrated doesn't mean a bad person necessarily. But I never cared for him as a dad on the TV show. Thought he was overrated. A stand-up comedian as well, Danny Tanner from Full House. And I'm going basically on TV character. His personal life, you know, neither here nor there. His death is just very odd. Still very odd to this day. They said it's like fell into his head and then slept it off. But man, if you hit your head like that, it's just a weird story in
Yeah,
general,
right.
and it's very private. But I'm going totally on character. Didn't like his character on the show. I wasn't like a religious watcher anyway, but I actually like the other two guys better. Like I like, I just didn't like his character at all. He annoyed me, and he is definitely my overrated dad uh, from Full House.
He was definitely one of the other ones I thought of. So
Okay, all right, he was
and I
in your
like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
You're right. The uncles were so their contrasting personalities were perfect. And I
yeah,
agree, Danny Tanner was almost irritating.
yeah, definitely just annoying. So who is your underrated? I got
So
two, and then a third one I'm going to try to sneak in that I thought of last minute that I think deserves a additional props. So who's your underrated?
mine, this one was really easy. To me, there's not even a close second, and it's Jack Arnold from the Wonder Years. His character, the strength, the wisdom, from a different era. There was clashes. I show a scene from their dinner table at one of the first episodes every year, to give the students a glimpse into the total polarization that exists in our society over the Vietnam War. But he was brilliant. He was in so many things. He had to change with the times and adapt, as his wife, adapted with the times as well, and was able to get a job and stuff like that. And you could see those struggles, but ultimately him sort of quote unquote seeing the light, but still maintaining the persona of this strong, such a wise dad. There was one particular episode, which actually had an actor I cannot think of. He's Jim Caviezel. Jim Caviezel was a star basketball player, and Kevin Arnold, the main character of the show, just loved him and went to all these games, and he was like a hero. And at the end of the Jack is kind of letting his son sort of figure it out at the same time, telling him, this, he might not be the person you think, but sort of letting his son figure it out. And at the end, he finds out this character, Caviezel's character, is he's a fraud. He's not a very nice person. And the dad, Jack, is just there, not to say I told you so, to offer the dad strength and wisdom and love and support. And to me, it's just such a great character. When I talk about that show with people who are our age, because it was a very popular show, Cliff Menser, Joe Harris, and we always talk about it. That character is so awesome and so underrated. So I'm going Jack Arnold from the Wonder Years.
Dan Lauria, I believe, is the actor's name,
Yes.
and then of course my actor was Bob Saget, of course, who passed away. So if we're going, because Bill Cosby, Bob Saget, Dan Lauria. So my number one, also 80s sitcom, and in a unique dad situation, I'm going with Tony Maselli, Tony Danza from Who's the Boss.
I love it.
I think he was a great on that show, just a great dad to even like the boy that wasn't his until the very end or whatever, like when they get to the show, but to his daughter Alyssa Milano, who was we'll come full circle, my childhood crush,
Samantha, yes.
Samantha Maselli. He was just he wasn't supposed to be the smartest guy in the world, and supposedly, like rumor is, he isn't the smartest guy in the world. That's why all of his characters were named Tony, so you would know to react to lines. I just down to earth guy that would do anything for his kids, obviously, like that's what the whole show was about. So I think he was great. I'm gonna go Frank Costanza, George's dad from Seinfeld, just to obviously a very comedic, Jerry Stiller, rest in peace, a great actor. And his role that series, as it got later and his character was introduced, he stole a lot of those episodes.
He did,
like
absolutely.
from the main four. If there's anybody that you would say who's the most important character outside of the four, I would have to say it's Jerry Stiller, Mr. Costanza. And then out there, like honorable mention, Chevy Chase's Clark Griswold in all the vacation movies. We've said, Christmas Vacation was my overrated, but again, the same thing, a dad that he wants the best for his kids and his family. A guy that gets so much crap. I think back to the original movie when he's picking up the car and it's this awful monstrosity that he doesn't want. So he wants the old car brought out. And he walks up to it as if he's gonna like actually get into it, and it's crushed to a. I just think of and him playing the video game to demonstrate the trip, and they're chasing him. I'm not a bit huge Chevy Chase guy, but his role in those movies a great dad. It's a great
I
dad
feel the
role
same
in the
way.
history of film. So
I'm not a big fan of his humor, but I agree. He was very good. Now, let me come back to Tony for a second. Ayo, yo, a, that was his famous.
yeah.
If you ever, do you remember the episode with Ray Charles?
No, that I don't.
I'm recommending this to the viewer, and you can actually get on YouTube. I don't know if you can get the whole episode, but there's a scene at the end. It is, first off, Ray Charles does an amazing song in the show.
Great musician.
Yes, and too bad he's not a mic. We'd have him on the wall for sure.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
If I would, that episode is one of the best episodes of comedy, any of those shows. And it was, Samantha was able to learn a lesson. I'm not going to give away too much because, like I said, I think you can get on YouTube, but it is an amazing episode with an amazing song in it. So,
well, I don't think we need to worry about spoiler alerts for late 80s TV
true.
series. So, but all right, time for hot mic. What is your hot mic take of the week, I should say?
Yeah. So, there's a recency bias to this one. And I'm going to reiterate something I've said before. I was able to, the last 2 weeks we've worked youth camp, and then we've had summer league after with the JV summer league. I refed with the varsity. I have been in the stands to work the clock, and I get to listen to people. When I officiated the games, the JV games, Tom Pack told me this. Tom is the most laid back. Tom was a guest on the show not that long ago. One of the most laid back people you ever meet. And he told me, he said, Mike, I could not listen to the people. I wanted to tell them, be quiet.
For summer league basketball.
Summer league basketball. And,
wait, let's just, I don't mean to interrupt, but for our listeners, basically, I'll just explain it as a parent that went through it. Nate's not playing this summer. Whatever kids were on the program last year or want to be on the program, sometimes they come. And for the most part, the coaches are just shifting in 5 players and out 5 players just to get playing time and see what they have. And then at certain points in certain games, they may like lock into a little bit of a lineup. No records, no stats.
Nothing.
Like if a foul's called, there's no scorebook. It's just sort of, it's really for the coaches to see, okay, who do I have going into the next school year and who could be where?
It's pickup basketball with officials to kind of keep order. And there's free throw shooting, but even the free throws, I don't want to get into all the rules. But if you call a foul, there's really, if I call a hand check foul at the half court, there's really no benefit to the offensive team in calling that foul. If it's going to be a turnover, you call it every time because of that reason. Yes. But you're just stopping the play to restart.
No, you're not getting to the bonus or anything.
You're not getting the bonus. You're not penalizing the player. It's just to stop the game. And so you have to kind of make a judgment as an official. And Tom told me this. Now that I'm on this end of it, where I'm sitting with some of the Mike, it is I am telling you, with all due respect, if you're one of these people at these games yelling at officials, number one, most of, if not all the time, you're wrong. And number two, how did we get to this point? I'm going to give Max Bailey a shout out here. He did this he did this at camp yesterday. He talked about how, amongst other things, the value of learning to lose and stuff like that, that's so important. But he mentioned, like, how did we get to this point where, and it's all levels, NBA, NCAA on down, where every single call is complained about. It's terrible. And now that I hear it, Rob Raymond, to his credit, politely, and I'm saying that seriously, politely did talk to a parent who was completely wrong about something and explained it. And, former Carlson teacher Jeff Simon said, "Oh, you see how nice he is explaining that?" And I think Jeff was trying to diffuse a tense situation, but Mike, this parent was wrong, and it happens so often. And so I'm kind of just saying to everybody, please stop. This has to, and to me, it's all sports. We sit in the booth for the football games. We get to hear quite a bit of stuff, especially early in the season before we close the windows when it gets cold.
Yes, the best time of year.
It's awful, and this is summer league, man. So
and
Mike,
I'm right with you. And I've now watched Nate. What now? So 2 years of middle school, 2 years of high school. I have not complained about one call. Over 4 years, because first of all, it was all sub varsity. Even if it was varsity, in the grand scheme of things, they never won a game nor lost a game because of a call in those 4 years. So what's the point? Have people made mistakes? Yes. But these kids have made mistakes. Coaches make mistakes. that's just human nature. And it baffles my mind with summer league basketball. It's just absolutely
And
crazy.
I'm not even talking to the person that's in their living room. And maybe not maybe I am that person sometimes when it comes to, especially the Lions, as you know.
Yeah.
But man, these are human beings, and we have a referee right now, Nate Pace, his first time doing it, and like he was taking so much yesterday
Oh,
from a myriad of sources, and I said to him as loud as I could, "Hey Nate, you're doing a great job," and I said, "I'm dead serious." And my daughter was doing the clock at that point, said, "Dad, make sure you tell him again," because she saw it, and
yeah.
she's
So you don't.
go ahead.
So you don't want to do middle school games with me this winter? I was thinking about maybe just doing something a little extra.
I did that last year, and it's hard. I have rabbit ears too. That's not something
I couldn't. I mean, I don't think I could. I mean, it's again, to all you officials everywhere, thank you for what you do.
yeah.
It's totally thankless at that level. When you talk about the Lions and the pros, I mean, obviously it's even harder for those guys because there's cameras everywhere. We think back to the Jim Joyce game and then
Yeah.
him in tears. I mean, the next, and that just shows you the human side of it. Like obviously but again, we're human beings. Like you make mistakes. So my hot mic take, as I said, is going to tie into my highlights of the school year. I want to today on this episode. For whoever's listening, because there's lots of people that listen, I want to give a huge shout out to our GEA members that negotiated the negotiating team. Rocky Georgie, all jokes aside about Rocky, he's the chief negotiator, and he's great at his job. And I hope he comes back in 2 years when this has to be done again. I hope all of these people come back. But Rocky Georgie, Kelly Warren, Christine Cruz, Audrey Zavalny, Rochelle Patron, and then Bill Triolet from the MEA, our guy. They worked tirelessly starting last November, October, and brought back. And I'm not here to, it's passed, and brought back probably the best deal in the history of the Gibraltar School District. But those people worked their tails off, and I want to commend them. And that's one of my highlights of the school year is spending time with those people over the last, however many months it is, 6, 7, 8 months. I could not have asked for better people to be surrounded by that cared about more than just themselves. And that's what that job's important about, cared for the group and the whole. And that's what a negotiation is and what a union is. I don't want to get into too many details, but basically the area I am on the pay scale got more of the lower amount of the raise, which I'm told. They looked at me and they said, "Are you okay with that?" And I said, "I'm okay with it because it's better for the whole." And that's what being a union is about. And those people went through a lot. And that's my hot mic. I want to thank all of them. Again, any minute I spent working with them was not a minute wasted in my book. And I think all of our members should be appreciative of those people. They work their tail off, and they can rest easy now this summer and they're not even resting easy. Audrey and Rochelle just had a meeting a couple days ago. I don't know if you saw the email that Audrey sent out. They're working on elementary prep time, trying to make that better. So here they are 2 days into their vacation, and they're still working hard. So that's my hot mic. Thank you. My dad just sent me a text as I was sitting here. He was a little behind the times, congratulating me on the passing of the deal. We commiserated at the bar last week before the vote. And so thank you to those people. I can't thank them enough. So that's my hot mic take. What do you got first? I'm sure you're going to talk Pistons draft. We're both. So what's your feelings after yesterday?
You know what? Just like the Lions,
We'll give it a letter grade. Let's do the dreaded letter grade.
Just like the Lions, my initial reaction is anger. The Lions now, time has sort of, at this point, I'm trusting what the Lions are doing with the Pistons. They haven't given me anything to trust. They took a kid at 5 who's he doesn't know how to play yet. He's not a finished product, but he's a super athlete. I hope 5 years from now we're talking about this guy as being an elite defender and good, awesome addition. I'll wait and see. So I guess right now I'm going to give it an incomplete. If you're okay with that, I'm going to.
Okay, that's fine with me. Are you this number 1 pick? You think this is a sure thing? Like this is? Do you think this guy?
Bayama?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I think I wish we would have gotten the number 1 pick.
Okay, so you I'm not going to speak specifically on the draft because I don't know enough. Nate was watching with me, and he was telling me I think he told you that he hoped it wasn't one of these twins. But I'm just going to speak as a dad watching this. What an amazing thing for a set of parents. I mean, it's a freak thing in nature to have one of your kids become a pro athlete in anything.
Yeah.
And you're sitting at the NBA draft and your 2 kids go 4 or 5. I mean, like just watching it was amazing to me, to see it happen, play out. Like I mean, you talk about the odds, you know, they do those charts of this percent of people play high school football, this percent plays college, I mean, the odds of having your 2 twin boys go pro within the same next 2 picks, just amazing to me.
So let me just address something on there. I wonder what's going to happen now. You know, a lot of people complain about the college transfer portal and the NIL.
Oh yeah, their whole method of not even going to college.
Right. 4 of the first 5 picks were not college players. And that's, as a basketball person, I don't think I like that at all. You know, I would prefer, you know, I'd prefer to, if I had a son that was on that level, I'd prefer to send him to, you know, Tom Izzo, or I can name
Yeah, I know.
but
what's it going to be like in 10 years?
Right.
College basketball is already slipping.
Their college has to, they're going to have to address this and figure, and they are. I mean, like I said, the NIL money is there now. Maybe the transfer portal was a way of making college a little bit more attractive. So they're gonna, but man, I just, you know, the Thompson twins, and no, I don't blame them. You know, they
not the 80s musical band.
Right. Something all the time. Yeah. But you can't
blame hold me now.
Yes.
Is that the song? Hold me now. Just to get Max mad with some singing,
but I want the game of these coaches they do amazing things, and they really have to do stuff they've never been comfortable doing. And I think that's one of the big reasons why John Beilein got out of coaching, one of the best college basketball coaches. So they're really going to have to figure out how to continue to make the college basketball game attractive to younger people. Again, I don't blame the Thompson twins nor anybody else for the decisions they made, the direction they went. But the NBA more and more is getting guys that, and I've been saying this for years, but now it's like really, they're getting guys that are just not skilled and not ready to play. The Pistons have one of them right now. You know, again, he could pan out. We got a great coach, you know, in place, and I'm hoping for good things. So we'll take the wait and see. And their second pick in the first round, they actually traded back in the first round, was a 4-year player.
Yeah.
Houston, a tough, tenacious kid, a 4-year player. I actually sent the text to Max Bailey this morning. I'm more excited about him at this point right now than I am the number 5 pick, but we'll see.
I really fear, and again, we sort of sometimes laugh. Once again, the NFL, their gold mine, and they have their own free minor league system that nothing is ever going to compete with.
Right.
Like they have that. It's just amazing to me, like how lucky the NFL is compared to these other big sports.
For sure.
You know, like it's just crazy to me. So again, like I said, I gave my input there. Pirates in the middle of a 10-game losing streak, but a big shout out to Mr. Rice's Reds, Dr. Rice's Reds. Ooh. I believe they're in first place. I believe they're on a 10-game winning streak. So
the Florida Marlins
anyone but anyone but the Cardinals is my philosophy in the NL Central. So as long as the Cardinals are not winning the division, I'm totally fine with.
You know, and I'm not putting you on the spot, I'm not trying to gotcha you. How many games out are the Pirates right now?
I think that, so they're on a 10-game losing streak. They were in first before this all started. I think they're only 3.5, 4.5 out. That's how bad
the Tigers went on a 9-game losing streak not that long ago, and they're 4 games out right now. And Minnesota just took 2 or 3 from Boston, so it's like, who knows?
The Central's so bad. But again, there's our little baseball talk for Coach Sikora. So he can be happy with this week's episode. We'll be back next week. I have nothing holding up recording next week, right? So we'll be good to be back next week. Hope everyone's enjoying their summer, and we will see you soon.